Glorious Geeks! So what'd y'all do while Instagram and Facebook were down? And more importantly, who do you think did it? I have a special show for you since I was at the Oslo Freedom Forum this week, which is basically my mecca, and I interviewed some amazing activists and dissidents thanks to the Human Rights Foundation, who organizes this event every year. So a huge thank you to them. I'm gonna share one of these interviews on this week's Crush List, but I'm just gonna give you one news update first, so stick around. But before we start, please hit that subscribe button below, click the notification bell, and like this video. Okay, so all of you have been asking me to break down what the Pandora Papers are. If they sound confusing, that's not your fault. Let me sum it up by renaming these papers to the Money Stashed Abroad for Thugs Papers. And as you know, I love me a good illicit finance story. This is a project led by the International Consortium for Investigative Journalists, where they received 12 million documents from firms that mostly open secret accounts for people in places where you have shady financial systems like Panama and the Cayman Islands. But one of the interesting things is that these papers also showed the United States as a tax haven itself. So the papers uncovered how people all over the world, like presidents, prime ministers, senior government officials, celebrities, rock stars, porn stars, and convicted criminals stash, hide, and launder their money. So let me take a step back. Offshore money means when someone has money or an asset held outside their jurisdiction. And laundering money basically means you have money that isn't clean because maybe you got it through illegal ways or maybe you owe tax on it, and you find a way to make the money itself look clean or legal by investing it somehow or stashing it somewhere. So hypothetically, a certain Jordanian king could go stash money in Panama, put it under some LLC, and then use that LLC to go buy $80 million worth of real estate in the United States, while his country, which is one of the poorest in the Middle East, receives your taxpayer dollars. Hypothetically, of course. So you may be asking yourself, okay, establishing offshore companies is not necessarily illegal, so why does this matter? Maybe these people are just wealthy and they want to buy 15 apartments in New York City and a Picasso to decorate. What's the big deal? Well, it matters when that money might be received through corruption and it's being stolen from a country's citizens, or when that money should actually be taxed, or when you're an outright criminal. Some of the criminals named in these papers have been accused of murder and drug trafficking. And it especially matters when those thugs are using the United States to do this. Hiding this kind of money not only hurts people on a very individual level, but it enables a system where corrupt leaders, human rights abusers, dictators, and thugs can protect themselves and continue illegal or brutal behavior. Now, I worked at the US Treasury Department in counter illicit finance, so it's not really gonna come as a surprise to you that I think that following the money is one of the most important things we can do to crack down on crime. I'll be interested to see what else comes from these papers, since they've basically opened Pandora's box. And Congress has now called for legislation that would make it harder for this kind of to happen. It's a little late, but better late than never. I met the most amazing badass from Nigeria. I'm gonna let her tell her story, but I just want to give you a little background before I do. DJ Switch is a very well-known Nigerian DJ, musician, artist, and activist who uses her art to fight for democracy and human rights. If you didn't see her rap on my Instagram, then go now and watch it. Seriously, pause this and go watch it, because it's amazing. She literally created that rap on the spot. Exactly a year ago, in October 2020, anti-police brutality protests broke out last year in Nigeria against a specific police group called the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, which is also known as SARS. These were peaceful protests that turned violent when this police group started arbitrarily shooting at demonstrators. DJ Switch was on the ground protesting, and she filmed the violence live on her phone. And she says she survived because someone who was shot laid on top of her and likely ended up protecting her. After that, she found out that the Nigerian government was monitoring her. Literally, officials were lurking outside her home. So she fled, and she hasn't been back since. Oh, it gives you goosebumps. She shared her story with us and how we can help. I am here at the Oslo Freedom Forum in Miami with DJ Switch, who's a badass. And she is a Nigerian activist, artist, musician, DJ. She is all, and she crushes it, and she's awesome. And I'm so excited to have you here to talk.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, and I think this is a great operation you've got going, so shout out to you and your team.
Thank you. That means so much. That means a lot. It means the world. Pun intended. So take us back to October of last year when the peaceful protests started in Nigeria for anti-police brutality protests against the SARS police group. Tell us, you joined those protests. Tell us how it felt when you were on the ground and how it all started and just, your story.
Well, I think you can't really explain police brutality. It's like self-explanatory, right? And so it kicked off on the 8th of October. big shout out to all the Nigerian celebrities and influencers. And what I felt on the ground was hope. Just seeing young Nigerians, just coming out, protesting together, supporting each other. It was a really defining moment, at least in my own history, and I believe in the history of these young Nigerians. And on the 20th of October was where everything really fell apart. The Nigerian army came and just opened fire on peaceful protesters. We were unarmed. We weren't attacking, nothing. Even as they were shooting, people were trying to run backwards, but you had soldiers in front, back, just sort of surrounded us. And so it was just pandemonium, And I don't know how I made it out alive, and me and the other survivors, but we lost some really great people and I say great because I don't know them one-on-one, but for them to be there, to stand for something they believed in, to protest with us, we lost really, really good people.
And you had to leave after these protests, right? So can you tell us a little bit about what happened there and the circumstances under which you had to leave?
Sure. So while all of that was going on, I started live broadcasting the shooting. And if anyone knows anything about my government, the Nigerian government, they hate to be exposed for the corrupt individuals that they are. That was so glaring, and CNN was calling in, everybody was calling in. And I couldn't even take the call at the time. I was just confused. I just wanted people to see what was going on. And, there was a moment where the viewers on the call, they were calling ambulances for us, but the soldiers refused them entry. So we started trying to operate on a protester who was shot in the leg. Others were shot in the chest and stuff like that. There was a guy who laid on top of me. He was shot in the back. And I just don't even know how and why he did that. But, that guy saved my life. I strongly believe that. Because of that exposure, and we're able to gather some of the shells, because then the army claimed that they weren't there. We didn't go there. We didn't shoot anybody. What are you talking about? They claimed that I had photoshopped the whole thing with a green screen. So it was insane. It's like CGI. I'm like, I don't even have the expertise, right? And so there was some sort of attempt to get me to stop talking about it, to deny it happened. Of course, there's always money on the table for things like that, and I would never take money for something like that. I'd rather live under a bridge. And if you don't play ball, then the next thing is to just nab you, either jail you or kill you. Most oftentimes just kill you and silence you. So thanks to some organizations, it took me out of the country. It smuggled me out of the country, actually.
That's amazing. I believe Nigerians are happy to have you fighting and using your art for human rights and democracy, which is just an amazing way that you're doing that. Why don't you tell us also a little bit about that, about how you're doing that?
Absolutely. It's still in the works, and I've just been thinking about, like, what can I do? What can I contribute? I'm an artist, and I know the power of art, the influence artists also has as well. Remember earlier I told you that thanks to celebrities and influencers who said, guys, let's do something, let's speak up. And that's why you saw hundreds of thousands of young people come out. So, I don't want it to be a one-off thing. And when I look at the market, the art that we have in the market today is just saturated with things that don't really inspire. And I'm not shading anyone. The arts that we have today, they're great. I love these artists. They are brilliant. But what I mean is, when I think of the likes of Fela Kuti and Miriam Makeba, Bob Marley, their work, their art was their belief. Their belief was their art. Do you understand what I'm saying? They use their art to speak truth to power, to resist. And when you hear stuff like that, it inspires you. It evokes emotion. It makes you want to stand up for something. And so while what we have out here is great, I think the market is saturated with too much of that. And it's important to have socially and politically conscious creatives out there. And so what I'm trying to build is to provide a platform for socially and politically conscious creatives only, give them the same platform and support, financial support, promotion, because music, for example, is all about promotion, and take them to that level where they themselves become influential, and then we sort of balance out the market.
Yeah, I think it'll work. I think it's a great cause. I hope many other artists following that.
I hope so.
I have one last question before you go,
Sure.
which is things on the ground in terms of the existence of this police force, SARS, which is the worst virus ever. As you said yesterday, that while everybody was worried about the coronavirus, you guys were worried about a much worse one.
Absolutely.
And it's still around, and things haven't really improved in that front. What can the international community do? What can Americans do to help push for democracy and human rights in Nigeria?
It seems like nothing has changed. The sentiment and or rather I'd say the mindset of young Nigerians have changed. The possibility that we can, come together and stand for what we want, it is there. Much much more than it was before, you understand? The minute we're able to get out there and show that we could stand together, even though it ended in a very tragic way, but it shows that we can speak up. And if you look at the social scene now, more Nigerians are speaking up every day, and the government doesn't even know what to do about that. So shout out Nigerians. But what the international community can do, and I'm going to be very blunt here, we cannot look to countries like the United States, the UK, and all these other countries that promote freedom of expression, human rights, democracy, and still not really see what you're doing per se. Okay, you can't go to bed with dictators and the ones that masquerade themselves or keep up this facade of democracy. They're not. Giving aid and monetary assistance, for example, let's say the US or the World Bank or other countries, even China, giving money to countries that that they use this money to fund terrorism, they use this money to enrich themselves and send their children to really, really expensive schools. If it's not our taxpayers' money, it's your money. You understand? At some point, don't you want to find out what your money is being used for? I mean, because I know the United States has given money to Nigeria to support human rights, to support police what's the word? Like a rehabilitation of the police reform. Thank you so much, and so many other things. But they've not done that. The same police people, they kill us every day because of the most trivial things like ripped jeans. You know what I mean? You've got an iPhone, a tattoo. You could find yourself in jail or dead. So, I want to just literally just tell the international community, you cannot overlook this anymore. Okay, we're human beings. We're part of the global community. And I think we all have a responsibility as we all have different capacities. I believe that everyone should pitch in as they can to help the people who can't really help themselves for now.
That is such a powerful message.
Thank you.
Such a big part of Oh My World, which is to expose these stories.
Gets me in trouble all the time.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing this with us.
Absolutely.
And we're so grateful to you and for your work. And don't hesitate to let us know what else we can do.
Absolutely not. Hey, everybody, subscribe. What are you doing?
Listen to her.
What are you doing? Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. You're the best.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Wasn't she amazing? She's the definition of crushing it. I mean, hello, she told everyone to go subscribe to my show. You can follow DJ Switch on Instagram at DJ Switch, and I'll help keep you posted on what's going on in Nigeria. In the meantime, you can call on the US government to pressure the Nigerian government to shape up and express your support for the Nigerian people, calling for an end to police brutality and human rights abuse with the hashtag #EndSARS. Thank you again to the Human Rights Foundation for setting up the interview with this amazing and fabulous woman. Thanks, Geeks. I hope you liked this week's show and interview. And if you did, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'll be traveling again next week because I'll be doing a live show at a college out west, so I won't have the usual programming. But don't worry, I got you covered. I will be sure to release another one of these really cool interviews in the meantime. See you next time, Geeks, and stay fabulous.